Okay, very good. We can get started. Okay, very good. We can get started. Okay, so welcome to our Tuesday evening session. This is chapter 8. So we covered up to verse 13. So we will begin with some chanting. So if you can open your book, I would request Anu to chant from verse 9 to probably 16.
Okay, Rajesh.
Thank you.
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षरपरब्रह्मयोगः। कविं पुराणमनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेत्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव ध्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्मा व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः आब्रह्मभुवनाल्लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
Thank you very much, Anu. I was just closing my eyes and contemplating upon the meaning. This is such a good meditation if you can practice. At least the verses we covered, if you can listen to chanting, and you can record and give it to you, the chapter 8, or even Swami Satyapradhananda's chanting is there, or Swami Brahmananda's chanting is there. Just close your eyes, play this, and if you can just bring the meaning into your mind, that itself is a fantastic meditation. With that, we will give a 5 minutes recap. And today I'm planning to cover verses 14, 15, and 16. We cover 3 verses every day. And if we have time, we can have some Q&A. So that is the agenda today. So recapping, please have the clarity. Make sure that these recap sessions, 5 minutes, you're paying attention and connecting the dots. And if you have any questions, please post, because studying Gita, it's not believing, it is understanding. Otherwise, it won't be any benefit. So with that, let's get started. This is 8th chapter. So you know that it is part of the second portion. The main theme is Ishvara, or the God, or the higher reality. And this particular chapter focuses on Upasana. Upasana, two different types of Upasana we talk. Mainly, the Upasana talking is Om Upasana, or that is why this chapter is known as Akshara Brahma or Taraka Brahma. The chapter opens with a few questions by Arjuna. Out of that, Krishna answers most of the questions in 2 verses. 6 questions he answers in 2 verses, and the entire chapter is dedicated for the rest. So the key question addressed by the chapter is, if you are talking about Upasana, it is fantastic. We talked about meditation. We talked about the nature of the God. We talked about a little bit about Nididhyasana. All that is wonderful when I'm healthy, when I'm doing well. But can you keep that stability of the mind? Can you keep that clarity of the mind? Can you keep that focus of the mind at the time of your departure? That was the question. Krishna answered this question very clearly by saying that whatever is the final state of your mind, meaning that final, while you depart, what exactly is your mental makeup? It is not the last thought, because we took a lot of examples saying that people going to anesthesia, people going in a coma, or people getting like diseases like amnesia. That's not what meant. Exactly not the last thought he had. That's not what it is. The final stages of his life, what is the predominant tendencies or the vasanas, or which state is his mind? Is that state is still in that duality state, or is that already realized? For example, if that state is transcendent the mind, if that mind already know the truth, who you are, then there is no departure for that soul, because he is no longer identified with the soul. So that is the best case scenario. And that scenario is known as, anybody? That's a technical term used in this chapter. Different types of mukti. What is that state of mukti?
Jivan Mukti.
Jivan Mukti.
Exactly. Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means you already realized and your identity is no more with the subtle body or the physical body. Yes, the subtle body and the physical body I have, but I am not the subtle body, versus I have a physical body and subtle body. Who am I? I am the all-pervading Atma, which doesn't have any birth, growth, decay, or death. So when the subtle body goes, what happens? I changed my, means it is, I am no longer identified with the subtle body. So I am not traveling. I am going to stay as Atma. So nothing is going to happen. So that is why the end state, what exactly is my mind state, where exactly it got evolved, or the other way also. That is going to determine the gati. So the second case we said is, if a yogi who is pretty much closer to the final state, he has gained the stability, purity of the mind, and he is a master in yoga, he can even depart, means forcefully depart his prana. We talked about the Brahma Granthi, how to, using the deep Hatha Yoga practices, how, or Kundalini Yoga practices, or Raja Yoga practices, how can you forcefully live your life? Such a yogi who attains the state of samadhi, from that samadhi he just leave his body. He may not have known, his mind is not yet evolved, knowing the truth completely, but he is closer, and that person goes to Brahmaloka, meaning a higher plane of existence. And there, actually, there is a probability for him to listen to the teachings from the Ishvara himself, the creator himself, symbolically Brahmaji, and then without coming back, he can go to the final stage. So these are the two different mukti. The first mukti is known as Jivan Mukti, and the second mukti is known as Krama Mukti. Exactly. So this is the exact difference. And the third state is a yogi who started striving, who is focused, who is putting all his effort, but he has not yet reached there. He has not yet even mastered his mind. He is in that path. That person, he will born again. He will born again in a very conducive environment for practicing, continuing his practice. That is the third. So if you take about all these yogis, great yogis who attained self-realization in this world, they fall into this category. They didn't have the Krama Mukti. Let's say that Maharshi, say Vishwamitra. I'm not taking any modern term, because the followers may say that he was not not born because of karma, he was an avatara. So we don't want to get into that controversy. Let's say that Maharshi Vishwamitra, he was born into this world because of his karma. That means he didn't get the Krama Mukti or he didn't get the Jivan Mukti in the previous life. So he came here, but his vasana or the tendency was so strong, he was dragged into the spiritual path. Even though he was a king, he was dragged into the spiritual path. Shankaracharya, people may say that he is an avatara. I'm just taking the other case. So please excuse me if you think that he is an avatara. So all such people, they came to the world, but they got a chance to pursue their practices and eventually got realized, Jivan Mukta. And one more thing I said, Krama Mukti is a matter of faith. There is no way for proving or disproving it. So if you want to believe it, believe it. Otherwise, Jivan Mukti is more logical. That's another point. The only thing by which you can believe is it came from the words of mouth of Krishna. So you can believe it using that. That's all. It's a matter of faith. Shankara comments, it's a matter of faith. Typically, you accept something per our Vedic vision, right? If there are three things aligns, what are they? Anybody know? Shruti. What is second? Yukti. Third is Anubhava. So here, okay, Gita is talking about it. Upanishad is talking about it. So it's okay. Shruti support is there. Yukti, you can think it as logical or illogical. It's up to you. Anubhava, there is nobody has this Anubhava in this world. So it's little bit, it means unlike everything else, like Jivan Mukti, Shruti says, Yukti, very logical. Anubhava, there are hundreds of masters. So this is up to you whether to follow this path. Even if you follow this path, it's not going to be easy. Practically in the modern world, nobody has practiced the meditation or the Hatha Yoga or the Raja Yoga to that extent. You can do this. So just keep those things in mind. And finally, a person who has not into this teaching, whose interest is only in the material world, he will be born, his gati will be determined by his interest. So this is, we need to be very clear. Now on that point, Krishna started explaining what exactly a yogi does. He tells the yogi with his intense power of meditation, what he does. He brings the prana up to the top of his head, initially here, and through the Brahma Granthi, he departs. And that person will get Krama Mukti. And when he brings the prana here, he uses a very powerful meditation. And what exactly is that meditation? That was verse 13. Om iti eka aksharam brahma. And how does he practices his yoga? Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa na anyagamina. This is very important. Abhyasa yoga yuktena, by the continuous practice of meditation. What is the benefit of that meditation? What would be the outcome of that meditation? He will develop a mind, chetasa na anyagamina. He can hold his mind to his object of meditation for a sufficient period of time. Chetasa na anyagamina. So abhyasa is practice. Whenever the mind goes to a different object, you need to bring that back. So somebody who has mastered the art of meditation or the science of meditation or the process of meditation, and who can bring his prana up to here, and then he practices this Om meditation. So at that point of time, we took a pause and we said there are two types of Upasana. Om can be used for two types of meditation. One is, it can be used as a Nidithyasana, and it can be used as an Upasana or a conventional meditation. When you use Om as a conventional meditation, the conventional meditation technique has to have an object for your meditation, which is different from you. And that object of meditation, we said that it can be two types. Remember? Anybody remember? One is called
Pratima.
Pratima.
Pratika.
Pratika. Correct. Pratima means what? There will be a physical form of the deity. So the infinite or the God can be represented through finite symbols. This is the first point, right? The infinite can be represented through finite symbols. So if the symbol is the symbol is the God? No, the symbol is a representation of the God. What is the best example you can think about that? A flag. Is the flag a country? The flag is not the country, but the flag represents the country. Look at the flag. It is limited by means how much size. Look at the flag of America. Look at the size of America. By getting into a flag, you cannot go to America. But looking at the flag can relate you with America. So that is why it is called as a vigraha. The definition of vigraha means visheshena grahayate. That which encapsulates the meaning. That which represents something else. By encapsulating the meaning of that. That is what is vigraha. So when you go to a temple, when you see the idol there, that is why we don't like to call it as idol. We would like to call it as vigraha because this is a non-translatable. So they say like idol worship is wrong. Who is worshipping idol? Nobody is worshipping the idol. You're worshipping vigraha, right? You're respecting a flag. Respecting a flag, is that a superstition? If you don't, if you think that your idol worship is wrong, then that person has to say that respecting a flag is also wrong, logically. Correct? Think about that. We have no idea, and people try to criticize us without understanding the point. Vigraha in a temple is not the God. Vigraha in a temple is a symbol that represents the God. And the infinite can be represented, means the finite, there is only one God. One finite means infinite God. That one infinite God can be represented by an infinite number of symbols. So the God can be looked at by looking at a tree. Have you studied Rudram? So in that Rudram you hear, right? Vrichekpyo, like your leaf, you are the river, you are the mountain, you are the ocean. All that is a representation of Ishvara. So the representation of the Ishvara can be a pratima or a pratika. Pratima means typically means it will have a semi or a full human form with limbs, etc. That's what they call. Pratika means it's a symbol. It could be a physical symbol like a Shivalinga or a Salagrama, or it can be a word like Om or Ram. Ram, at least you have a symbol, but even Ram can be used as a name. So that is exactly what the object of meditation. So when you use Om in this particular case, it is an Upasana. It is not the Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana we talked the other day, right? Nididhyasana means you are trying to re-educate your mind. You know that something conceptually wrong, but through the repeated practice, you are trying to make it deep into your psyche. Remember, we started talking about Nididhyasana in the Atmabodha class. So Nididhyasana is different. Here the Om symbol is used as a means of Upasana. And when you do that, you will get Krama Mukti. Clear? Any questions?
Rajesh
Yes, Arunabji.
Rajesh, quick question. I totally agree, but there are many religions in the world, or at least a few, very popular ones that don't believe in idolatry and that prohibit idolatry. Isn't this like, why don't they get the truth behind what you just said? Or
It's
is that
lack of
something which
understanding, right? So they object what?
That you are
Worshipping a
diminishing
stone,
God.
they object. Do they object worshipping God? No.
No.
They think that it is wrong by the false information or misunderstanding that these guys are going to worship a stone. So it's lack of awareness and understanding. And that is why we need to have that large heartedness, because his worship may not be like my worship, but eventually he is worshipping God. So in Gita, later chapter, you see Krishna will saying that a tribal, when he does a rain dance, that is, he is worshipping me. You don't need to have recite Sanskrit mantras and do complex rituals to reach me. Chapter 12, Krishna tells, if you just offer a flower or if you just offer a water little bit, that is good enough to come to me. So to answer your question, it is misinformation and sometimes, sorry to say, fanaticism.
Yes.
My way or the highway. That's it.
Most of the
Rajesh
time,
ji,
yeah.
Yeah.
can we use Om and do Nididhyasana?
Yes. Om can be used. Om, the beauty of Om is Om can be used for Nididhyasana also, because the whole Mandukya Upanishad is for using Om as Nididhyasana. Understanding the meaning of the Om, which is connecting me with the absolute reality. So Om can be used for Nididhyasana also. But 99% meditation used by Om is a meditation. Like sometimes people are interested in sound, sometimes people are interested in vibration, right? Om is such a beautiful meditation technique. It fits with almost every kind of meditation. It can be used for relaxation meditation. It can be used as concentration meditation. It can be used for expansion meditation. It can be used for Vedantic meditation or spiritual meditation. That's the beauty. Okay, so now let's go to verse 14. Anu, would you mind chanting it?
Ananya Chaitas satatam yo mam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabhah partha nityayuktasya yoginah.
Okay, so this is very interesting. So Krishna is just saying, if you remember a couple of verses back, Krishna said, I am going to talk to you about that state, right? He tells, Yadhischanto brahmacharyam vadanti. That state which is highlighted by the people who knows Veda, that state which is sought after by all the yatis, that state which is desiring which people follow brahmacharya, tatte padam sangrahena. He tells, I'm going to summarize that and tell you. And then what happened is, in the next two verses, he talked about this Kramamukti path. Like he said, you need to bring your prana here and leave the body. And now he's coming back to that topic. He's going to talk about that state. Once you reach that final state, what exactly is that, the nature of that state? The next 3-4 verses, a few verses, Krishna is going to talk about that. So he's talking about that final destination. Once you reach that final destination, either through the path of Kramamukti or through the path of Jivan Mukti, what is that state? He tells, Ananya Chaitas satatam yomam satati nishchayaha. Then he tells, tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktesya yoginaha. Ananya Chaitasa. He tells satatam. He used 2 words. Satatam means, anybody know satatam?
Constantly.
Constantly, or for a sufficient period of time. Ananya Chaitas. What is Ananya Chaitas? Chaitas means what? On a high level? Mind. Right? Chaitas on a high level is mind. Ananya Chaitas means what? A mind that is not separate from Ishvara. Understand that. This word is used in Gita multiple times. Ananya Chaitas. So you're talking about a person who is realized or who has gone to that level. He has done the karma yoga, he has done the upasana yoga, he has done the shravana, manana, nididhyasana. So once you do that, what happens? Your mind will be fixed on me. So ananya cheta satatam. So yo mam satati nityashaha. Yo mam satati nityashaha. So the one who meditates me, or one who established his mind in me always. So a person who has a pure mind, a stable mind, who has gone through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, that person's mind will be always fixed on Ishvara. So to that person, Krishna tells, Tasyaham sulabha partha. For that person, I am easily available. I am never away. Krishna is saying that even if it is in this life, I am there for him. Nitya yuktasya yogina. And that yogi is, what is that yogi state? He is nitya yukta, not temporarily yukta. Yukta means what? Yukta, the word came from the root yuj. Yuj means union. Union means you have established your identity with the highest. So here Krishna tells a person whose mind is not always fixed on me, Ananya Chaitas, a mind who is not seeing anything other than Ishvara. So even if he see a leaf, he see Ishvara there, and he knows that that Ishvara is not separate from me. All these words are very important, right? Whose mind sees nothing other than Ishvara. So whenever he see a plant, he see Ishvara. Whenever he see a cosmic law, he see Ishvara's manifestation. So Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, that is his state. Wherever he look, he see only Ishvara. So that person who has seen that unified vision, and he knows that that Ishvara he sees is not separated from himself. He see himself everywhere. He see himself in everything, and he is everything. So that person, Yomam Marati Nityashaha, that person is always established in me. Tasyaham Sulabha Partha. I am readily available to him always, because there is no difference between he and me. And Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. And that yogi is always connected with me. It's a conclusion. So it's a promise, and it is the final stage of your practice. Any questions?
Yes,
If not,
Rajaji. So basically the method to attain this is Upasana and Karma Yoga, right?
the
And it's
method to attain this
like
is, the method to attain this is, first, see, let me just summarize it in 3 steps. What is the problem? Wrong identity. Correct? I take myself as my body mind complex. Just to re-establish that concept, let me take you back to that Swapna Drishtanta called out by Shankaracharya in Atma Bodha. In a dream, you are running a marathon. Which world you are working in, means you are transacting with? Dream world. Which body you are using to run?
Dream body.
Correct? Because if the body got hurt in that marathon, is your real body is getting hurt?
No.
While in that dream, if somebody asks what is it means, which is your body, do you have a trace of doubt? Do you have a trace of doubt that that is not your body?
No.
Why?
No doubt.
Why? Your mind, something in you, your consciousness. Remember, we talked about this in the Atma Bodha class. Your consciousness illumines the Chittavrutis. And when the mind is in dream or waking state, there will be one primordial Chittavruti, which is the individuality Chittavruti. We call that Chittavruti as Ahankara Vritti. Remember that? And then what is going to happen? That Ahankara Vritti is getting related with another Vritti. So what is that? That body Vritti. So that Ahankara Vritti is what is giving me that identity, self-identity, the relation of that Ahankara Vritti. So if that Ahankara Vritti is getting identified with the dream body, I feel that I am that dream body. But reality is what? I'm not that dream body. It's foolishness. So like that, it is the life here is like a dream. We are not saying that it is a dream. We are saying that it is like a dream. Your identity with the gadget is so strong. In the dream world, do you need the dream body? Absolutely. Without the dream body, you cannot transact with that dream world. So it is an essential equipment given to you, which is different from you. You know for sure, because when you think about the dream, you know that that dream body is not you, but you have that dream body within the dream space and dream time. So like that, in this world, you need this body, but you know that, theoretically, you know that this body is not you. This body is given to you to transact with this time and space. So that is that miss. But what happens while we are in this body, we take ourselves as the body. So what is going to happen? You get suffering. So what is the solution to get out of it? You want to re-establish in your real identity. So that is the ultimate goal. When you re-establish your identity with your true self, which is consciousness, all the sufferings will come to an end, because the suffering belongs to the body, not you. Yes, if the body is not there, you may not, what is the maximum thing? You may not be able to transact with the world, but you are not coming to an end. So the body has a suffering, but I have a suffering. So that knowledge is important. So how do I gain this knowledge? I need to use a proper means of knowledge to gain this knowledge. We talked about this in the Karma Yoga class also. If I want to see something, I need to use my eyes. I cannot use my ears to see the light. So appropriate means of knowledge has to be employed for knowing myself. And what is that appropriate means of knowledge? Scriptures. So that is why we call Vedanta as a pramana. Pramana means pramakaranam, that which gives me knowledge. So Vedanta is the means of knowledge. But we said, just like for the eyes to see, you need to have light. There are some preconditions. Otherwise, this means of knowledge will not work. So if I want to employ my mind and use Vedanta as a pramana, you need to have a pure mind and a stable mind. You cannot gain, without pure mind and stable mind, you cannot use scripture to know yourself. So how do you gain that purity of the mind? Karma Yoga. How do you gain the stability of that mind? Upasana Yoga. So once you have Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, what you gain is something called Jnana Yogyada Prapti or Antakarana Shuddhi. These are the technical terms used in scriptures. Once you have that eligibility to seek knowledge, right now we are seeking knowledge, but it is only a theoretical knowledge. For that theory to become your own experience, you need to make sure that this Antakarana Shuddhi or the Jnana Yogyada Prapti is achieved through Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. And once you have that, you start using scriptures as a means of knowledge. How do you use the scripture as a means of knowledge? Through 3 steps. The first step is called Shravanam. The second one is called Mananam. And the third one is called Nididhyasana. Clear? This is the end-to-end step. Theoretically, at least clear?
Perfectly clear.
Good summary, Rajesh. Good one. Like, very logical, step by step. This is what it is.
This is the spirituality. That's it. The whole Vedas, Upanishads, Gita, Vedanta, everything is an elaboration of these 5 points, 5 sentences I said.
Yeah.
And if you know this, you can relate with this.
Totally.
Otherwise, it is going to be a mystery.
So Rajesh just wanted to confirm one more point,
Yeah.
that the difference between Upasana and Nididhyasana is that Nididhyasana, you're trying to change existing behavior patterns.
Yeah. Upasana means habitual thinking. You are trying to change your habitual thinking. Viparita bhavana. Even though you know that certain thing is true, but that is not what your current experience talks. Remember the example I told you? Even though you know that the sun is not going into the ocean, you know the science, but the moment you go to the ocean, you feel that that is the other way. So because of this habitual thinking, this viparita bhavana, what is happening? You think, even though theoretically you know that you are the Atma, you still take it as a body. So Nididhyasana is a repeated clarification, a special kind of meditation which retunes the mind from that habitual thinking pattern, which thinks that I am the body, to I am the Atma. That is Nididhyasana.
Okay.
Good. We are talking all the major, the highest Upanishadic topics here, which is really good. Okay, so let's go to the next verse. Anu, could you please chant?
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम शाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः.
So now Krishna talks about what happens to that state or that ultimate destination. What is the nature? So mamupetya, having reached me. Having reached me, what? If you confirm or if you establish your identity with me, meaning if you have self-realized, if you got the mukti, either through krama mukti or jivan mukti, then what happens? Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashwatam. So what is the biggest benefit of reaching me? He tells there are two things. It's a dukkhalayam ashashwatam. It is a permanent end of all the suffering. What a great state. Otherwise, the suffering will be there always. So, mamupetya, two things he said. One is punarjanma. There won't be any rebirth. Second thing is dukkhalayam ashashwatam. This impermanent place. You won't be there in that impermanent place. Imagine like a dream. You will be in a dream for a small moment, and there could be sufferings in that dream. But once you reach me, you will be freed from all the sufferings, and there is no more rebirth to you. Mam upechya punarjanma, upetya punarjanmya, dukkhalayam ashashwatam. And then he said, right? So the wise will not undergo, right? Once you reach there, means there is what happens once you reach there, you don't go back, you don't gain any other word. So that is the greatest promise here. So once you reach me, the wise people will not gain, means another birth. That is point number. Ma mupetya punarjanma. And then what? Which is, once you get into this world, what is the problem? You will be subjected to suffering, and this any world you go, it is finite. And what happens? That person has reached the ultimate goal of his life. So he reaches the ultimate goal of his life. There is nothing more to attain. The highest destination, the ultimate purushartha, means Purushartha in our scriptures refers to the different goals of life. Anybody remember what are all the different Purusharthas?
Kama,
Artha,
I mean, dharma,
Kama,
karta, kama, moksha.
Dharma and Moksha. Artha means what?
Securities.
Yeah, I am insecure, so I seek security. Kama means I am not
Desire.
fully contented, so I seek happiness. And Dharma means what? I want to do some right thing so that I gain some punya by which I will have a better life. What is moksha?
Relief,
Freedom
freedom,
from
which is like
all sufferings. So once you reach me, you will be freed from all the sufferings. Exactly, Krishna defines moksha here. What is moksha? Remember what was in 3 verses he said, I am going to talk about that state which is described by Vedavits, the one who not chanting the Veda, but one who knows the Veda. Then yatis put all their effort to reach this state. Remember who is a yati? The one who put effort in the spiritual path is yati, a sannyasi. All the yatis work towards this state. And then what? Yadischando brahmacharyam vatandi. People practice brahmacharya, discipline, spiritual disciplines for attaining this state. I'm going to talk about that. That is exactly what he's talking. The other day, somebody asked me this question. He promised something and he didn't describe. Of course, he describes. Even if we forget, Krishna won't forget. In Gita, you won't see anything like that. Loosens. If he promised something, he will tell. So hope this answers that question, because immediately after that, he started explaining the Kramamukti, but he picked up the thread and this is where it is. So once you reach that state, you will not have punarjanma. You will be freed from all the sufferings. You will not be in temporary places. And this is the ultimate goal of all the life. Excellent promise. So with that, let's go to the next verse. Anu, could you please chant?
Brahma bhuvanalokaha punaravartinochuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate.
Very interesting verse. Krishna tells, he uses a beautiful expression. He tells, Abrahma bhuvana loka. Bhuvana, meaning, Bhuvanaji, it's your name. What is the meaning of that name? Anybody?
Universe. This is like Bhuvanam.
Yeah.
Is the world, right? That's
Yeah, but little bit more clarity. Any place where there could be being a being can exist. That is why it is called Bhuvana. So he tells, Brahma Bhuvana Loka, up to the Brahma Loka, meaning any plane of existence where beings can be there, right? So potentially one can be born in multiple planes of existence, right from Brahma Loka to this earth. So that is what is meant by this verse, this word. Brahma Bhuvana Loka, right up to Brahma Loka, wherever a being can exist. What is the problem of that word? Punaravarti no Arjuna has a potential for rebirth. So earth, there is a potential for rebirth. Even up to Brahma Loka, you may go to heaven, but you will come back. Once the punya exhausts, you will come back. So anywhere you go, there is a possibility of rebirth. Punaravriti no Arjuna. So, oh Arjuna, there is a possibility of coming back, even if you go to any location. In other words, the karmas can take me to multiple planes of existence. If I do a lot of good karmas, probably I'll go to a plane where I may have more conducive experiences. But even that is finite, and you will have to come back. Whereas, Mam upetya tu kaundeya, if you reach me, if you gain this state of moksha, right? Punarjanma na vidyate. There is no more rebirth. So it's a complete freedom from all the rebirth and all the sufferings. So you may ask me, right? If you say reborn, that is okay. Getting another birth is okay, right? A lot of people think. Swami Dayananda used to give a good example. He tells, oh, born again sounds so fancy, but think about born again means what?
Suffering.
Die again.
Suffering again.
Think about that. Then that beauty will go away. So that's exactly what it is. So Krishna tells, so 3 verses we talked about, right? The first one is how to reach me. Ananya Chaitas satatam. You have to keep your mind connected with me, and you should see me in everything. So that person, Yoga Yukta, the person who connected with me, whose mind sees me in everything. This word is going to come to Gita a lot of time from now onwards. Ananya Chaitas satatam. That means this Chetas that do not see anything other than Ishvara. So Ananya Cheta Sadatam, Yomam, that means who contemplates upon me, Nityashaha, always. It's not that I see God only when I am in the puja room, and when I go to somewhere else, I do not see God. That's not what we are talking. Right? 24/7, whenever he sees anything, he sees God. Have you read that Tolstoy's story, the Martin story, right? He sees God in many places. The smile of a mother, the smile of a child, the care of a mother. So many places you see, wherever you, means you can see Ishvara everywhere. This is the vision of the Gita. So you will see God in all the places. So we are going to see this in Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Yoga. Vishwarupa Yoga is going to tell me that everything in the world is nothing but Ishvara. And Vibhuti Yoga is going to tell, like, wherever there is glory, that is Ishvara. One is going to talk one into many, other one is going to many in one. Vishwarupa is many in one, Vibhuti is one in many. So this is beautifully explained. And even in the 7th chapter, we got a glimpse. What is that? Rasohamapsya kaunteya prabhasmi shashisuryo, right? When you taste water, that is me. When you see the light, I am that light. So the imminent form of the God, you cannot miss it. Only thing is that just open your eye and see it. So that is explained. And then 2 verses he explains. Once you reach the state of moksha, what should be that state? Like, you will not be reborn again. You will be freed from all the suffering. You will be reaching the highest goals of your life. And finally, any other world you go, there is a potential of rebirth and coming back. But once you reach me, you will be freed from all the sufferings. This is what symbolically the Christianity called permanent heaven, by the way. Of course, there are different interpretations, but this is a way of looking at this from a Vedantic angle. So this Vedantic angle, with that, if you go to any scriptures, you will get a very satisfactory explanation on all these theoretical concepts. Any questions or comments?
Rajesh,
Yes.
you defined brahmacharya earlier. How did you explain that? What was
So
that?
charya means you're following, right? Means brahmacharya means any lifestyle which keeps you closer to Brahman. That's how I defined it.
Okay.
So a lifestyle which aligns you with the highest. So it could be the disciplines of the body. It could be the discipline of the mind. It could be your attitude. All that put together is known as brahmacharya. That's a better definition, and that is what is language-wise you can derive. You're moving very close with Brahman. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Rajji, what did you say? What are the things in that?
It could be the discipline of the body. It could be the discipline of the mind. It could be the spiritual practices you undertake. All that falls under this. Unfortunately, or a lot of time, it is limited to a very restricted meaning of celibacy, but it has a larger meaning. Celibacy is good as long as it is a spiritual practice. That's it.
So before you become a sannyasi, you need to be a pure brahmachari. Then only you can, or no, grihasthas also can become a sannyasi, right?
Of course.
Sannyasi, so I'm trying to figure out this.
So the good question. Sannyasi, there are two types of sannyasis, right? One is a lifestyle sannyasi is there. Okay. The other thing is a sarva karma sannyasi is there. A person who has mastered karma yoga, who has given up his kartrutva bhavana, the sense of doership. The one who renounces, he might be a householder, but he is a sannyasi also.
Sarva karma sannyasi. The other one is a
sannyasi is a lifestyle sannyasi. So nishtha, sannyasa nishtha. Nishtha means you take a lifestyle which is dedicated to the spiritual practices. That is. So
brahmacharyam is not necessary for to become a sannyasi.
Brahmacharyam is necessary, but that celibacy type of thing is not necessary, right? Because in the ancient time, almost all these sannyasis were married.
Okay.
Not sannyasis, they are rishis, of course. The sannyasa is a tradition started by Shankaracharya at that time only. Like before that, it was all rishis.
So the Brahmanishtar, where does he come in this?
The Brahmanishta means again the lifestyle which is suited for, means aligned with Brahman. It is pretty much similar to
brahmachari.
Okay. So Brahmanishta, a sannyasi is definitely a Brahmanishta, but not just the sannyasi or the lifestyle sannyasi. There can be Brahmanishtas outside also. For example, Janaka, King Janaka is known as a Brahmanishta.
So if the rishis were householders, then why did Shankaracharya start this whole sannyasi path?
Because you need somebody to, if you need a lifestyle, you are not interested in household life, you are not interested in family, it is depending upon the people, right? Some people are very much dedicated to this study and the propagation of the scriptures. So Shankaracharya initiated that tradition of sannyasa. So you can see there are 9 types of sannyasa. You can see we will do a small session exclusively dedicated to that. You could see some sannyasis are Saraswati, some are Giri, right?
Yeah, I've seen that. And what's the difference? I mean, why are
the different tradition? So we will dedicate some time for that another day. So you can see that somebody is Giri, somebody is Puri, somebody is Saraswati. You can see all those differences, different tradition. All these are sannyasis.
Yeah, because for even the acharyas in Sringeri, they have each matam has got a Saraswati name or a tradition, right? Correct.
So if you take Swami Chinmayananda, he comes from that Saraswati tradition, right?
Saraswati.
So
even Kanchi Madam also Chandrasekhara Saraswati, Vijayendra Saraswati, right?
Yeah.
And in Sringeri, it is Sannidhanam.
And means Swami Chidananda Puri.
Puri, correct.
Right? There is another tradition, Puri. Correct. And Giri. We have
Giri.
Giri also is another tradition started by Shankara's tradition. The
so
lineage is
from the north side.
It's actually even in south there are a lot of Giris.
Oh, okay.
So by tradition, what do you mean? Is it like
it's a one monastery he started, and all the lineage will be Saraswati. For example, if you take Swami Chinmayananda, you can see that it goes, means if Swami Shivananda, means his guru would be coming from a lineage.
So for Chinmayananda, what is the name?
Saraswati. Swami Chinmayananda is Swami Chinmayananda Saraswati, because he was given his Diksha by Swami Shivananda Saraswati. And Swami Dayananda Saraswati is again Saraswati, because he was given by Swami Chinmayananda.
Chinmayananda. Okay.
So Rajeshji, any fundamental differences in the philosophies and practices between these lineages?
There could be some.
Okay.
See, the whole spiritual tradition, right? Even the Vedanta, this is coming back to Rohitji's question. The whole Vedanta can be looked at through different metaphysical framework. So right now we are following is something called Advaita Vedanta, non-dual school. That doesn't mean that it is the only way to look at the Vedic teaching. You can look at the Vedic teaching through the eyes of a dualistic school, and you can look at the Vedic teaching through a qualified monistic or Vishishtadvaita school. The other day I was answering in response to Rohit Ji's question, which one is correct? Personally, my response was, even though we all follow Advaita Vedanta, my response was, these are three different point of views of the same truth. So truth can be one, but depending upon your angle, or depending upon your methodology, depending upon your teaching style, it could be different. Sometimes for an apparent reader, this could be appearing as contradictory. And that is what I was warning earlier. When you study Gita, if you use too many commentaries, you get totally confused. Extreme example, if you take ISKCON's commentary and if you take the Advaita commentary, you may think that, oh my God, what he is talking. So without studying deep, if you take the commentaries, it can throw you completely away.
Yeah, Rajesh, Swami Sarva Priyananda, in his Swami over the weekend, the Sundays, he explains this exactly how these different Vedantic schools are.
Okay. Yeah, hope
I
similar to what I said, right? Is it?
Yes. In ISKCON, probably which is the Dvaita philosophy, the concept of Atma is probably not the same.
It may not be the same, but you're looking at the Atma and you're forming an opinion. It's called Mata, right? Mata is opinion. What is beyond this Mata is called Tattva. Tattva means the truth. The truth can be seen through different angles, which is pretty much possible because this truth is infinite and it is in a larger context. And don't think that this problem is there only in Hinduism. Look at Bible. How many versions of Bible are there?
So
many.
More than 2,000.
Good News, King James,
Yeah. So some of them are mutually contradictory.
So Rajesh, when Dvaita follower writes a translation for Gita, for example, if Madhvacharya translates Gita, I'm sure he has a book too, and then Vaishnava also translates a Gita. How would they represent this? Because in the whole Gita book itself, it is like one Parabrahma which came in and gave us all these things. So how are they going to accept this?
They find interpretations to fit within their definition.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that is not bad. That is how they see it. I don't think.
But why there should be something like this is the way it should be seen.
Yeah, like the ocean and wave. You can look at that and say that wave is a creation of the ocean, and wave is ocean is a god of the wave, and the wave is dependent upon ocean. Wave is created by ocean. Wave is sustained by ocean. Wave is finally goes back to ocean, which is correct. And now Ramanuja comes back and say that, hey, that's not correct 100%. Wave is part of the ocean. And we say, hey, that's also correct. That's another point of view. And then Shankaracharya will come and say that there is no reality for the wave and ocean. The reality is only water. The reality of the wave and water is same. That's also correct. That's all. And you know, right, people used to fight over this. Ancient time. Shankara's followers used to say that, Madhava's followers used to say that Shankaracharya was a Buddhist in disguise, vice versa. So these type of healthy and unhealthy fights were there in our culture.
So Rajesh, for novices like us who are just getting exposed, it's really the teacher that you come across. Basically, you follow that philosophy unless you deeply start questioning some of those.
Yeah, exactly. So I started with Dvaita, and then I had to move to Vishishta Advaita, and finally I found my thinking aligned with Advaita. That doesn't mean that everybody is like that. So once you go deep, you will find connected with one thought, which is Shruti, Yukti, and your own experience. So everybody has their thing, and the teacher, and you're absolutely right, the teacher plays a big role. So now if you want me to complicate this further, I can complicate it. Even within Advaita, there is Neo-Advaita and the old Advaita. There is differences, different schools of thoughts are there within Advaita Vedanta. Vivekananda's school is slightly different from that of Shankara, which is known as the Neo-Advaita. But fundamentally, there is no much difference. So but as seekers, we don't have to go to that level, because that becomes dry intellectual discussions. We just need to understand, try to see the truth through the path given to us. If that path doesn't sound right to us, of course we can always pick up the other path. That there is no problem in that. Important thing is that there should be a path.
Yes.
I feel that way.
But it shouldn't confuse, no?
That is, the problem is, we take, out of enthusiasm, we take all these books and start reading, and it confuses you. That is why the teacher is very important.
Yeah, but then it also depends on which tradition you belong to, right?
No, I think the tradition you can always, the thing is that which is not, for example, somebody might be born in a Gaudiya Vaishnavite tradition. He can be a good Advaitin. And there are...
So it's not necessary to become Advait.
No, it's all, you learn it, right? Whatever your preference is, where you are aligned with, that's what matters. Again, I'm talking liberal answers. If you go to some traditional teachers, they may give different answers. I'm just speaking my heart.
Rajeshji, you mentioned that you started out as a Dvaitist and then you moved on to Vishishta Advaita and now Advaita. Is that a very common progression?
No, a lot of people are directly exposed to Advaita, because I was pretty much started with the Gita as it is. So that's why it was Dvaita. But a lot of people in the modern world are exposed to Gita through Swami Chinmayananda. If that is the case, you are directly into Advaita. Or if you are introduced to Vedanta through Vivekananda, you are already in Advaita. So it's all, I mean, the other day, even in the Gita Karma Yoga class also I talked, right? The metaphysical framework is pretty much important. If you want to study Dvaita, you have to use the Dvaita metaphysics to interpret ISKCON's teaching. What people does is people go there with Advaita framework and try to interpret Dvaita, which creates a lot of confusion.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. So it's a common thing. Like when you study physics, you have to have the appropriate physics tools to interpret that. That may not work with psychology. So the models, the tools, the techniques, the metaphysics has to be aligned with what you are studying, which is pretty much common for every study. And people mix and matches with that. For example, I said right the other day, if you want to study Bible, you have to understand the biblical framework. And now you go there with the the framework, you will not understand anything. On the other side, when they come back and study the Gita, if they use that metaphysics, gone. So it's very important. When you study Quran, you have to understand the Quranic metaphysics. This is the honest and intellectual study. Otherwise, they will conclude that all other scriptures are bad. Is that bad, or if you don't understand it? That's the problem.
Yeah, but so what do you mean by metaphysics? So
Metaphysics
especially
means,
in terms of
so there are metaphysics means certain fundamental framework using which the whole idea is built. For example, here we say, right, the karma theory is there in Advaita Vedanta. The karma yoga, upasana yoga, jnana yoga path. Right. Those are the metaphysical framework. Without understanding that, you cannot study. So that's why I always reiterate that metaphysical framework. If you remember, every class I try to make sure that that spiritual path sequencing is done. Karma yoga, upasana yoga, jnana yoga, within jnana yoga, shravana, manana, nididhyasana.
So what would be a Christian's metaphysical
Christian's path is, right? So again, it is very complicated question. There is no one Christian path. There are multiple schools. The commonly believed school is, it is a dualistic school. In that dualistic school, God is separate from you, and the God is created you, and the God wants you to follow his path. And if you follow his path, you will be placed into the eternal heaven. Otherwise, you will be going to the eternal hell. So for you to understand, you have to understand the original sin, the idea of original sin, because Adam and Eve committed the sin against the will of God. They were sent out of the Garden of Eve, and with a curse, anybody born from a human womb is a sinner. And this is what is known as original sin. Have you heard of that term?
Oh, yes. Yes. Sure.
Yeah, original sin. So the problem is what? How can you remove this original sin? There is no direct way. God himself has to help us. So the only way to remove the original sin is a sacrifice. And that too, you need to sacrifice something which do not have this original sin. So anybody born out of a human womb has this sin. That is why you can see that the birth of Jesus was an immaculate birth, right? His father is not Joseph. It is immaculate birth. So he was not affected by the original sin because his birth was a special birth. And when he was crucified, right, that sacrifice was with a pure blood. So those who believe in him goes to heaven. This is the basic metaphysical framework. Without understanding that, if you read it, you will not understand that. And there is deeper meaning for this. There are Christian mystics who researched and who came up with good metaphysical explanation for all these things, which is good. But what I just enumerated is the popular interpretation of the Bible.
Rajaji, all religions of the book, such as Islam and Judaism, they are also Dvaita, right?
Most of them are Dvaitas.
God is separate and we are separate.
Yep. Yeah. Islam, it is like that. But if you really go deep into Islam, you will see verses which may align with this thought. If you go deep into Bible, you will see verses which tells that the Advaitic flavor. So again, the scripture, I would say the popular prevalent interpretation of the Bible and Quran are dualistic. For example, Bible, there is a verse Where is the kingdom of God?
Within you.
Within me. And there is another verse, book of John. Those who know me in my entirety becomes the sons of God. Becomes Jesus Christ. And what is the first verse of the book of John? In the beginning, there was Word. The Word was with God.
And the Word was God.
In Mahabharata, exact same sentence is there. Exact same sentence, no difference. So the Word was with God. The Word was God. Pure Advaita. Okay, so this is not to quote to any Christians, and I do respect their belief. I was just seeing a different interpretation of that scripture with respect. Okay, so any other? So we took extra 15 minutes. Sorry about that. A lot of questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Learned a lot about Christianity.
Learned a lot. and Rajeshji, like Paramhansa Yogananda's guru Sri Yukteswar Giri,
Yeah.
he wrote a book called Holy Science,
Mhm.
in which he compares the similarities between Christianity and Advaita Hinduism.
Yep.
And he elaborates on a lot of them.
You know what? Paramahamsa Yogananda himself wrote a commentary on Bible. Honestly speaking, that is the best interpretation I have ever read. Probably my affiliation to Advaita Vedanta. Brilliant explanation. You can read that if you want. It's available.
On Bible or Bhagavad Gita?
On Bible also. Bhagavad Gita, of course, it is there. God talks to Arjuna.
Talks with God.
But his
God talks to
commentary on Bible is very popular. Okay. Any other questions, Bhunaji? Otherwise, if you could chant, no, we can find out. Sorry for that extra 15 minutes. I didn't even realize the time.
No, thank you, Rajesh. That was good.
It just flew.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
So on Thursday, we will continue with Atma Bodha. We are going to enter into the topic called Nidithyasana, which is exactly the continuation of what we discussed here. And Sunday, we will continue with Karma Yoga, which is the first step. And immediately after Shivaratri, we will start Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is the most powerful book on Upasana Yoga, the meditation. This is the book on meditation. So anybody who wants to learn meditation, let's learn that together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajeshji.
Thank you.